Hi all. Okay, so my angels told me to make moves on film and vids, so here we are. Anyway, I've been home the past couple of weeks, which has been actually really wonderful. Like, it's just brought like a lot more healing, and I've been able to kind of also sort through like some of the spiritual trauma and crazy stuff I had to deal with at my house that I moved out of. And so like being home and like around my family and like having a sense of like peace and being able to sleep not with one eye open or whatever, it's just been like a huge breath of fresh air. But I've been working on like ultimately like what I'm doing is like coordinating between different animal sanctuaries, like to go visit and spend some time at or whatever. But anyway, I've really been enjoyed being home, like, and taking a time out or whatever in the meantime. And then a few weeks ago I was at my sister's baby shower, and a family friend had asked me, she's like, I'm just really surprised you're speaking publicly, like what led to that. And aside from just like it, everything, like just I literally thought I was going to drown from the inside out if I didn't speak my truth. I felt like I was going to implode. And I too, like, I saw like kind of the piece in the puzzle, or like my chain link, and how it related and who it related to directly around me. And it's like I remembered the promise I had made prior to incarnating here, about what me being the first to wake up, and that I would step forward and do this, and how it would positively impact a lot of people I care greatly about. So it kind of just became to a point like I had to do it. I have to do it. I can't live with myself if I don't, whether anybody understands it initially or not. I know they will. But I don't know what the timeline looks like as far as like, what that's like. So it's challenging, but anyway, I have a whole new normal, and I've accepted that, and that's cool, and I'm cool with it, and it's great, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But it definitely has not gotten any easier having to look at my iPhone and film videos. Like, if this part of it, it is not natural to me. It feels so uncomfortable, and it is so hard, but we move forward, the show goes on. Anyway, but the kind of like, I guess what I want to cover right now is like the different forms of spirit guides. And I kind of group it into 5 general categories, but you can split hairs, you can break it, it can be broken down into all different types of ways. But for me, I guess like kind of how I categorize it as and how it relates to me, is your higher self, the divine, ascended masters, guides, and like animals and nature and planet Earth, Gaia. And whether you believe this stuff or not, every single person has an entire spirit team and angels and whatever above them, which lucky for you. But and a lot of times, like, I did not think I had communication abilities. I would have told all the mediums who told me that, I was like, you're freaking crazy. But it turns out they weren't. And anyway, but it's so natural. Like, a lot of it is just times, like, it's your thought process. Like, you don't even realize, like, so you have these communications, whether you realize it or not. And sure, maybe not to the extent that I do now, but because mine has developed. And anyway, but everyone has these abilities, and the thoughts are so natural to you that you don't even realize that they're not your thoughts. Like, so for example, say you were like, oh, I need to go to the dry cleaners in Target. And then as you're driving to the dry cleaners, you're like, oh, actually, instead of going to Target, I'm going to go to the grocery store so I can get a balloon for my niece's dance recital tonight or something. And it's like, to you, that's just like your normal thought. Like, that was just that was just you. But really, that would be like your angel or your guide, like, putting that thought in your head. And so that, anyway, a lot of times it's so natural you may not even realize it, but once you're able to like establish that connection with your higher self and connect the dots and realize like, you know, that's your higher self's voice or whatever, or a loved one or your angels or whatever else, like how you go down this path and you're able to differentiate like where your different thoughts come from. You don't know. I sure as heck didn't. But once I like had started to realize like I was going through a spiritual awakening, and once I was able to connect the dots with my higher self, then the next people to step forward were loved ones who had passed, who were up on the other side, close to the divine, not related to me, but loved ones who had passed. Immediately once I established the connection with my higher self and like connected those dots, quickly to step in and help, they helped establish the connection with them and who they were, and their interest in guiding me, I guess, which it turns out like they always had been, along with many others. I just wasn't aware of it. But anyway, it's like all super cool. But yes, everyone has a team, whether you're consciously aware of it or not, or you believe it or not. We all made a sacrifice to be here and to help raise Earth's ascension and get us back closer to the fifth dimension. Because Earth's one of Heaven's gardens, and there was some stuff that happened a very long time ago, where, in a nutshell, like high level, kind of the protective barrier around Earth fell, and some not so great beings were able to get their way in here, and that's a large part of the suffering and kind of disease and illness and some of the negativity that we all experience, that we shouldn't have to and that shouldn't exist, but that continues to, because there's different agendas at play. Anyway, but yeah, I'll get more into that in my next couple of videos. But for now, so your higher self is you. Like, let's talk, like, the first one, for as far as guides go, your higher self is you, and it's not you from the future, you from the past. And higher selves, they can look all different ways. They can, we all have different backgrounds as far as like where we originate from. I mean, we're all souls. We all are souls created by a God. The universe gives you a physical vessel, and then you have your higher self who like helps you navigate this life, whether you're aware of it or not. And they have your best interest at heart, because they are you. And so anyway, the more you can, like, the sooner you can like establish that connection with them, the better off you are. It's for your highest good, and it gives you insights and like, helps you know how to move forward and navigate it and have the most like happy, successful, outcome and growth and experience and whatever else. But a lot of times, like, we get caught in these karmic traps and egos and whatever, and you just don't listen to your intuition and like, your heart, like, you don't filter through your heart. And at the end of the day, the best thing you can do is, get out of your ego mind and unlearn a lot of negative patterns that you were taught, knowingly or not, by people who, were imperfect themselves. Because as a human, we all come here, we forget why we're here and what we're supposed to be doing. So it's this whole path to remembering, and, we all have flaws. And if you don't remember why you're here and you're lost and confused and experience, trauma in this world, it's like, hurt people. And it's like, even the people with like the best of intentions, can have a lot of negative repercussions on people around them, and even people they love very much, but they just, if you're hurting on the inside, you're gonna cause hurt to others. And so like parents or grandparents or siblings or whatever else, friends, whatever, coworkers, you just, until you're healed, until you are able to like kind of see things from a higher level, from your higher self perspective, it can just, things, the whole ego, 3 and 4th dimension problems that we experience, the repercussions can kind of be worse than people realize until they're corrected. So just, do your best and try to love yourself, be patient with yourself, and be kind to yourself and others, and realize that you've probably learned a lot in life from people who didn't know what they were doing either. So just the more you can take a step back and see it from that level, the more beneficial it'll be to everybody. But your higher self, like, their personalities are often similar to yours, obviously. Elva is my higher self, which is funny because I always have liked the name Ella, and I didn't know my higher self until in the last 6 months or whatever it was. I didn't know her name was Elva. So that's funny because the voice in my head has been Elva, and she was trying to communicate that to me, and I always just was like, oh, I like the name Ella. But anyway, it's kind of funny, I always, I guess, knew, I've always had a heart bigger than my body, and I've always been fearless and adrenaline junkie, bold, not afraid to be different. And but I guess too, it just kind of goes to show, I'm 31, and I've been out of home, my house, out of home, growing up for 10 years, and still it's just even what I've gone through in the past 10 years, it was enough to I knew these stories from when I was younger, and it relates to who I am now, but you do forget, again, everybody just suppresses, you kind of forget who you are and what you're here to do. But as I have been home, I was cleaning out my closets and going through pictures and home videos, and it's just been funny because I was born knowing what to do. I've been claircognizant my whole life. I was talking and walking and didn't even have to potty train. I just knew what to do before the age of 2. And my mom was always you were just kind of a freak in that way. You just come out knowing what to do. But anyway, I'm trying to think of some examples of how it relates to what I'm trying to say. But okay, so for one, when I was 2, I one time woke up out of when I was 2, one time in the summer, my parents we were it was I don't know, 7 a.m. and I was asleep upstairs in my bed, and well, I was supposed to be, and I had snuck out of my bed, and I got past all the baby gates and went outside to the pool. And it's only funny because I guess it's funny now, but people who probably have kids don't think this is funny. But anyway, I broke out, and I had gotten a deuce coupe. I don't know if you know what that, the things, they're yellow on top. It's kind of a red and yellow kid's car. You can pedal it with your feet or whatever. Well, anyway, I had gone outside to the backyard to the pool and put it up on the diving board. It was a low dive diving board. But anyway, 2 years old, I had got this deuce coupe and put it on the diving board, and footed pajamas and all. And one of my parents looked out the window and saw me get into the deuce coupe on the diving board and start foot pedaling off of it. And one of them ran out and jumped in the pool, and at that point, I was in the deuce coupe sinking, and pulled me out of it. But that's just been me my whole life, completely bold and fearless. And also, I do have to say, I have always been kind of creative. Okay, so another funny thing from home videos I watched was at Disney World, which was my favorite place on the planet growing up. We went there sometimes, and anyway, so I was a handful, and not always the nicest to my sister. So I got grounded at Disney World. Well, I don't know if you consider it grounding, but that day we were going to Typhoon Lagoon, and I was being such a treat that my mom was no, you're not gonna go. You're not listening, and you keep being mean to your sister, and like, we're not gonna take you to Typhoon Lagoon. So I had to stay in the hotel. And I mean, I was like probably 9 or 10, like totally fine to stay in a hotel room and just, be in trouble and sit there and watch TV. Well, so I think I have to probably give Elva props for this, but I don't know if my mom would say props, but anyway, so I was mad and I was like, screw this. So I opened every single thing in the minibar, because I would know my parents would have to pay for it. So I was mad and I was like, well, here we go. So I just literally opened the minibar, opened everything. And that was back when, if you stayed at a nice hotel, it was a half-size fridge that was fully stocked. Nowadays, not many hotels have mini bars or whatever else. But anyway, it didn't go over well when my parents got back from Typhoon Lagoon. I'm sure I was probably grounded from other things, activities on the trip. But yes, and my mom, she would always would write my sister and I letters or cute notes, or she was truly a saint. But anyway, on my 16th birthday, I had found the letter that she had written me, and it was in my grandparents, my mom's parents, who I've always been very, very close with, who are just such a large part of my heart and soul too. In the letter my mom had written me, she was like, when you were 3, Grandma Pat looked at you and said she's gonna have the heart of Mother Teresa and the lips of a truck driver. You always tell it like it is. And I mean, it's just I would like to think I'm a little more polished than that nowadays, but and my parents, they didn't really cuss. I mean, they were hilarious. My mom is hilarious and whatever, but just so chill and whatever. So I guess my whole point to some of these examples is it's just funny. We all are who we are since the day we're born, whether you realize it or not. It has nothing to do with the family you grow up into, or you grow up in, or where you're born, because we all choose the families we're born into. You put all this stuff in place that you need to happen in order for you to remember why you're here and what you're supposed to be doing. And more so now, the kind of the point in time that we are now in Earth's ascension process. Everybody is a very experienced soul, and it's bound to happen sooner or later. The majority of people are going to remember why they're here and what they're supposed to be doing. Anyway, I'm just one of the first ones to have volunteered to remember that, and so it's not easy for some of us now, kind of being the black sheep or the odd people out in the situation. But the more you can get back to who you are at soul level, and a lot of times that's looking back to who you were in childhood before you were kind of raised or learned behaviors or whatever else. And then so that's kind of your higher self. And your higher self, you don't need to ask. Your higher self is you, whether you realize it or not, whether you want him or not. It's your higher self is just you. And then but my higher self, Elva, Holland also uses her as a guide. Holland, she's established communication with Elva, and Holland uses Elva as a guide. Anyway, and so some of the lines are kind of blurred between the 5 categories too that I've grouped them into. And then the second one is the divine, which is God, archangels, angels, messengers, whatever else. And I just have to say, I love Elva, but they're my favorite. I've always been felt really connected and close to angels, but without really knowing how or why, because again, I wasn't raised religious. I mean, my parents believed in God or whatever, but I didn't go to church, or I've always thought all religions have good components, but there's no right one, and I don't really necessarily believe in all the negatives that sometimes that were attached to them. And I don't know for what reason why I didn't believe it. That's just I didn't. But anyway, the divine, there's nothing to fear. Like God and the archangels and angels, they are all absolutely hilarious. Like you have no idea. Like there's nothing to be fearful of. Like be kind, be a good person, do your best, and you're good. Like trust me, there is nothing to fear. They just, you know, they're the parts of like, they're all the good parts of like your heart and soul, and like any good within you or any humor, like that's all the divine. And I just really can't emphasize that enough, that there's just like nothing to be fearful of. And like doesn't matter whether you believe or not, they're here and they're here to protect you, and they care about you so much. But they're all freaking hilarious. Okay, so I have in the past couple weeks, especially too, like my angel, like the angels have really stepped forward for me, and helped me to kind of like establish between which archangels like are communicating messages and everything else. But okay, so here's an example. So I have a thing for fruit snacks, like okay, whatever. And my parents' house, like they have like tons of snacks, like you know, a lot of people here. But so in the house, it's like really, really like long, wide, always like whatever. And then the basement, it's like it's as big as the upstairs, if not bigger. I feel like the basement's kind of like freakishly large. But anyway, my room is in the basement, and it is like, you know, in the far corner of the basement. And anyway, I like for like, I don't know, 10 or 11 nights in a row between like 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. decided like I needed, like I like every night, it was like, I don't know, yeah, like 10 plus nights in a row, I was like, I need all the fruit snacks. And so I would get up and come upstairs. In my room in the basement, like I would have to walk all the way across the basement and then up the flight of stairs, and then, you know, back the opposite way all the way to the kitchen. So essentially, in a nutshell, from my bed to where the fruit snacks are was like two of the furthest points in the house. Well, I eat like snacks and, you know, not that healthy. Like, well, I mean, I'm 88% vegan, but like junk food vegan. And I have been since 16. Not the vegan part. I've been vegetarian since 16, but you know, vegan in the past few years, doing my best. But I'm like at 88% now. And but again, junk food vegan. Well, okay, so the fruit snacks though, from my bed to the kitchen, where they are opposite, like the furthest points of the house. Well, I also, one of the purposes of like why I am here, and part of what my experience and growth is and whatever on this planet, is to learn to self-heal, because the human body is a self-healing vessel. And so anyway, I've been told and shown I'm learning to self-heal, like not even just like emotional trauma, whatever, like the healing journey that I've talked about like so far in my videos that I'm on, but like physical, like self-healing, like, you know, physical things. And so anyway, I have been trying to be a little more conscious about like, you know, what I'm putting into my body, as far as like, or using, like putting on my body, even like face wash and face creams or whatever. Because yes, part of my purpose and whatever, I'll get into more of all this later, but you know, chemicals and preservatives, and you know, if you, all of us, like if you look at anything you eat, from cereal to anything, like you don't know I don't even know what the ingredients are or the chemicals, or you read a label, it's like, who the hell knows what any of that is. So, but like with my abilities, I just like ask my guides, like, you know, I kind of like, if I don't know, if I have a question about something or whether I should or shouldn't be doing it, I kind of just like look to them. So it was like literally like, I don't know, the 11th or 12th night in a row where I had come up here and got like 7 or 8 fruit snacks. You know, I was like, you know, asking them, I was like, is this okay? Like, you know, whatever. I guess nobody has shut it down yet as far as like self-healing and fruit snacks. And they were like, you know, said yes. So got a bunch of fruit snacks, ate them, went back downstairs. And then I was like, you know, in bed on my phone, and I was like, okay, well, I think I should go back upstairs for more fruit snacks. And nobody said no, like, you know, my angels and the guides, and I was like, okay, back upstairs I go. And I'm like trekking through the basement. It's kind of like, again, it's a walk. It's like a hike up here. And like I was like, you know, it's good though, at least like, you know, no stagnant energy. I'm not sleeping anyway, keeping things flowing. Well, the angels started laughing, and they said, literally, the angels start laughing, and they go, we use fruit snacks to exercise you. And I was like, what? And they were like, yes, we use fruit snacks to exercise you. And I started laughing. I mean, I was like, okay, a part of me was like slightly offended, not even offended, but I was like, wait, what? And then, but like it was like a split second, and I was like later, and I was like, it's freaking brilliant. Like, that is actually freaking brilliant. And then before I do my videos, I always try to like, you know, jot down like a few things, like, okay, like 5 categories of how I group them, like to what to talk about. And then like, you know, I was writing like divine, hilarious, you know, don't forget to mention how much I love them and how truly funny they are. So I wrote, you know, divine, hilarious. And anyway, they were like, it's capital H. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, like, anyway, so everyone has these abilities. Everyone has a spirit team. It's so freaking cool. There's nothing to fear. It's really entertaining. And we all have, like I think I've mentioned already, like everybody has a dedicated archangel. Mine's Uriel, Uriel. And within your heart, one of your heart chakras, there is a spark that, you know, it's the unique signature spark of your archangel. And so certain mediums can tell you, you know, many mediums have, I guess, can tell you, you know, which archangel is yours. That's not one of my abilities yet. I'm not able to like look at somebody and tell you who your archangel is. But and then like a lot of stuff has been like, you know, that have come to me that I know that I'm being guided by, like Metatron, Gabriel, Sandalphon, Raphael, Raziel. There's like several who have continued to come up in channelings, and who have continued to be like common messenger or common like whatever communications with me and delivered messages. Shamuel, a few, but one of them was the Gabriel thing. I like couldn't figure out, like I had, you know, continued to get channel messages from Gabriel, and I was like, weird. I was like it was like it would like be like male, but then it'd also be like female energy, and I just like, I don't know, I was like, so is Gabriel a girl or a boy? Or anyway, I was like having like a hard time, like, you know, trying to figure out, like, right now what I'm working on is being able to like I know if it's like my higher self, or if it's a loved one who has passed, or if it's an angel who's communicating with me. But like right now what I'm trying to work on is like instantly identifying like which archangel is like, you know, communicating a message. So anyway, like I was having like a really hard time. I was getting tripped up on Gabriel thing. Like I was like, you know, it's like kind of boy and girl, or anyway, and I was just, anyway, and I had kind of like looked up, like, you know, I had Googled like, I don't know, a couple times, like trying to get clarification on if it's a boy or girl or whatever. Well, the other night, like I was brushing my teeth a couple nights ago, and I was just like spaced out looking in the mirror, and I was just like, God, I have just not been able to put my finger on like on this situation. And then all of a sudden, like it was like another like block was lifted, and it just like whoosh, like a channel message came in, and it was like Gabriel and Gabrielle, they're twin souls. And that's the situation. There's Archangel Gabriel and Archangel Gabriel, and they're twin souls. And it was just like a whoosh moment. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I started crying because, you know, it was like all the feels. And it was like, you know, instantly I had remembered, oh yeah, that's like part of what I'm supposed to be talking about in this life. And like all the angels were cheering, and anyway, and but then it's like there's a lot more detail. I remember there's a lot more details, but I still have to remember what all details I'm supposed to share with everybody, and stay tuned on that. But anyway, it made me laugh, and like in that moment, part of me was like, wish like, or I guess it was like later that night, part of me kind of was like, gosh, I wish my mom was here to like, you know, I wish my mom was here for this like whole trippy journey. Like she would just think it was kind of funny. She'd be entertained by it. And then her voice came through, and she was like, Grace. And I was like, oh yeah, sorry. Like, I know you are here, but part of me was just like, well, I kind of wish you were here in like the 40 so I could like see your reaction to all of this. But anyway, heaven, and like heaven, it's, you know, it's all around you, and God, the divine, the angels, whatever, there's just nothing to fear. But for angels, you do have to call upon them and ask them for your help. Like, whereas like certain guides, you don't have to, but angels you do have to call upon them and ask for their help. And then there's ascended masters, which is like, again, the lines can be kind of blurred, but like Jesus, Confucius, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, anybody who walked the earth plane and who reached a very high level of spiritual enlightenment, those are considered ascended masters, and they're also guides, and you have to call upon them if you want their assistance. But I also consider like Nikola Tesla and Einstein, I consider them in the ascended master group, and I will get more into that. Nikola Tesla is that connection. He's, you know, the one who like electricity and free energy, and I advise everybody to look into Nikola Tesla and free energy in the meantime. But that has been a common theme in my life that has always just continued to come up, and I've always just like known about Nikola Tesla and not known how I've known about Nikola Tesla. Anyway, I consider I consider those type of people to be ascended master, in the ascended master category too. And then the fourth category is guides, which they can either be higher dimensional guides, like star people, like blue avians, or inner earth populations, like the Mayans and Anshar, or they can be spirit guides, like ghosts. They can either be ancestors or hi, my stepmom. No, you're totally fine. Anyway, so then they can be like, so guides in the guide category can be higher dimensional beings like star people, or guides as in ancestors, like your loved ones who have passed, or ghosts, like who are like, you know, haunt you in your house. So in my case, like John and Edith, 32-year-old John and Edith, who, you know, there was 8-year-old Edith, 23-year-old Edith, and 30-year-old Edith. And before I moved out of my house, like, okay, so the whole spirit ghost thing, I'm still trying to get a handle on, because, you know, it's a little interesting. The divine can work through anyone. So they can also use spirits to communicate with you, because for spirit ghost, in the sense of like, you know, the haunted ones like John and Edith, they don't need your permission to try to help you, as you may know from my story. They can just willingly offer help and opinions and try to get your attention, whether you would like it or not. And so and you know, most of them are harmless. It's just, you know, I've learned like it's been very scary to like navigate like understanding it when you don't know it. But yeah, most, and you know, the divine can work through them too. Like in Edith and John's case, I've learned the divine was working through them to get my attention before like my communication abilities were open to asking for help from you know, beings who, like the divine or star people, or people, you know, you have to kind of call upon. But then there's also like, they can also kind of considered flawed in the sense of, they need, like, if it's a human being who's lived and died and they don't go into the light and they're in limbo in ghost sense, they don't have any more knowledge than they do the day they died. And so a lot of times if a ghost spirit, tries to help you, it's like they still have free will in limbo, and they can still choose whether to go into the light or not. And so if they're just like, willingly trying to offer their advice and support, it's the same thing as if a human being, a living human being, is, trying to offer support. It's like we're all still flawed, and we all just have a human perspective from our own opinion. And so anyways, it's, some people don't like to engage or listen to them because it's like, they're offering an opinion from like a human being standpoint, and it's not really necessarily a lot of times considered worth much more than, just somebody's opinion. So yeah, so in the higher dimensional, like star people, like blue avians and inner earth and stuff, they have to, yes, you can call upon them if you want to, but they get permission from your higher self. So your higher self is the one who determines like whether they can come through and communicate with you, and whether you're ready or not for whatever the communication is that they're trying to present you. So yes. And then the whole animals and nature and planet Earth, that's also a very important component. And again, animals, like, I don't think many people realize how critical and huge of a component that is, and how near and dear that is to the divine's heart. But the divine does a lot of work through animals as well. And I've been able to like establish like communication with certain animals, and it's pretty cool. But I'm definitely still growing those abilities, and part of kind of like why I want to do this sanctuary tour is, I don't know, I guess to more closely connect to the nature and animal component, because I'm obsessed with animals. But then also like that's one of the, like, that is kind of the category that I have had like the least experience in. I guess just that's been dumped in my lap. So I guess kind of just time for me to like seek that out on my own, more like strengthen my communication abilities in that area. But yeah, so I guess that's kind of like a quickish overview of different categories, and how it relates to me and like my experience. But some people might ask like, okay, well, if the divine and if we all have teams of guides, and it sounds great and all, like, then why is there all this suffering in the world? Well, so there's still, we all put soul contracts in place prior to coming here, and before any of us coming here, you put a soul contract in place with God and the divine, and for your own growth, for what you want to experience in this lifetime and what you want to achieve. And so for me, it's like I was going through all those like horrible, scary experiences at my last house, and before I really had a grasp or understanding, or had strengthened the connection with the angels like that I have to now to the as of today, I didn't really understand it. And I like, part of me knew like I was kind of protected, but then I still was like, yeah, but I felt like, well, maybe today's the day I die. Like, I don't know. Like, it was just, and now I've since realized, like, I contracted for those experiences so I'd have a better understanding of the duality. And it's like I was protected, but those were still experiences that like I needed to have in this lifetime. And the whole goal is for each of us to awaken or to reach spiritual enlightenment about the truth in this lifetime. And so, we put these plans and contracts in place of what we need to happen for us to be successful in achieving our goals and our purposes for what we came to do, and in order for us to wake up and reach enlightenment. And once you reach enlightenment under the fifth dimension, in like the 3D and 4D, then you're awake eternally. Like you've kind of like hit that threshold. So you don't have to come back here and try to reach that enlightenment level again, which is a wonderful thing. So I just advise everybody to keep an open mind, do your best to get in touch with who you are at soul level, and remember your purpose and your purpose for being here and what you came to do. And then you will start to see like your spirit teams and your guides and your angels and everybody else, they're helping you in the best way that they can to achieve your goals. Otherwise, if you didn't make them hold you to it prior to coming here, I would have hit the eject button or the stop now button, at least 200 times by now, as most of us would. So it's set up this way for a reason, and anyway, everyone will start to see that. But do your best to remember who you are at soul level, and things will start to get better. And it's just like our reason for being here is cooler than anyone has ever led us to believe in the past. And I don't know, as more and more star seeds, like in where we are at the point in the ascension process, start to get activated, a lot more is going to come to surface. But anyway, my next couple of vids I'm going to do are going to be about channeling, how to channel angel messages and signs, which I love, and universal number patterns, and kind of the truth disclosure and some of the stuff that, how we're in this karmic predicament and some of the other forces that are at play on planet Earth right now. Those are going to be kind of the next few videos I do. But anyway, I love you all. Bye.